Okay, cool.
All right. Okay.
Okay, take care all. Have a nice meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Beth.
All right. Have you all been able to use the link to pull up the document? I can try to see if I
I've got it.
can do that. Do you know how to share, Jerry?
Oh.
Let's see. Hang on just a
I
second.
can't pull up a toolbar to do that.
Hang on. Well, let's see.
I think I can share it.
Share
You
screen.
got it? Okay.
Let's see if I can. I don't even know where to look for it.
Do you want me to try?
Yes, let me hang on. I have to make you a co-host too. Okay. Now you can.
I pulled up the documents and
see
that eliminated any sharing.
There we
Do you
go.
see my screen? Can you
Oh,
see?
just click on the green arrow.
I've got mine up. Do you see it?
Can you see it on the screen? Everybody should be able to see it on their screens now.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we did, one of the part of the conversation was the fact that voting has changed in this country. You know, I think we have a tendency to think that the way things are today is the way things were, you know, when the Constitution was written and the Bill of Rights were signed and all of that kind of stuff. And that's not the case. Voting has evolved over time. The 14th Amendment talks about voting. Then we go to the 15th Amendment that says that citizens cannot be denied on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. And then we go to the 19th, which finally gives women the right to vote. But the Voting Rights Act increased that, and then we made, rather than going into great detail, Native Americans, they didn't get the right to vote until 1947, and Asians didn't secure it until 52, and African American women until 56, and Hispanics until 75. So it's been an evolution. We didn't feel that it was necessary to go into great detail. So as you move on down now, what I've tried to do is just streamline things just a little bit so that we include the things that everybody seemed to think were important to be included, but we took out some stuff that wasn't necessarily going to add to understanding. It was just taking space in the document. So Colorado, was it 2 years ago, I think, Colorado voted on an election security position. We actually tried to take it to national because we felt like national really doesn't have a good, strong position in place to ensure that our elections are as safe nationwide, or as safe and as secure as they need to be. Unfortunately, national was not supportive of that, and the membership did not vote to adopt the position. The link is listed below, and if you'll click on that link, there are several options, but you can get to the election security position. And the reason why that is right down there. And in that there is a section in that includes that people who have disabilities, there need to be things in place that will allow people with disabilities to be able to exercise their right to vote. However, and we do have those things. I mean, if you're going to a polling place, they are handicap accessible. There are special machines if you are vision impaired. There are a number of things in place. what we did include in that election security position was, I think it's number 9. If you look at number 9, one of the biggest concerns that we had when we were drafting that document was that we did not want to allow wholesale online voting, because any online activity cannot be guaranteed to be safe and secure. And I don't know, I just got a notice in the mail the other day that because of the whole deal with Change Healthcare, a lot of my stuff, a lot of my things, because their site was hacked, a lot of my healthcare information may be jeopardized. So you know yourself that you hear cases where credit cards and all of that kind of stuff. So we wanted to put something in this election security position that would say, yes, if online is the only way that you can vote, if you don't have the ability to go to a polling place, if you can't fill out a paper ballot, if you can't do all the things that are available to you, and that's the only way that you can vote. For example, people who are overseas, they are given the option of online voting, but they're a fairly small percentage. And the fact is that it's been determined that even if everybody who lived overseas voted online, it's not enough to change probably the outcome of an election. And so that was one thing that we included in item number 9. We want everybody to have access. We don't want anybody deprived of their right to vote, but we also want to use the safest means of voting possible. So that was referenced in this voter document. So I didn't feel that we needed to keep repeating it again and again. So anyway, if you want to go back to the document, are there any questions about this? You guys can go online. There was a committee, I was part of that. There was a committee that spent hours and hours researching wordsmithing, getting in touch with other people who have a vested interest in voter rights to make sure that the document that we came up with was sound and well researched and succinct. And I have to give compliments to my other committee members. I think they did a good job.
Excellent.
So are there any other questions that any of you have about this? And if you would like to, I mean, we've talked about this for a long time. And so both Jerry and I are kind of at the point where we'd like to move this along. If you have concerns, or if you have things that need to be added or that need to be deleted, please share those. One of the areas, and I don't know whether identified areas for improvement is necessarily the best title, but we did have quite a robust conversation about additional things that the state might consider in order to ensure. Did somebody have a question? So if you have additional things that you think, one thing that you all do, I want you all to know is that our county clerks, after every election, there is an ongoing conversation about how can we improve our election system? How can we streamline things? How can we make it more efficient? How can we make it easier for people in our state to be able to exercise their right to vote? And, you know, we have safeguards in place. Colorado, well, actually nationwide, the cases, and Jerry can chime in on this too, voter fraud, contrary to what we hear in the news much too often, voter fraud is very, very minimal. And in the case of Colorado, very often people vote, it's not an intentional desire to do something illegal. Sometimes it's that people don't know. Or in some cases, it's a case where somebody gets the signs gets the wrong ballot and whatever. So it's not, the case of actual intentional voter fraud is very, very low. And in Colorado, if it's believed that it wasn't, well, all cases are reviewed and delved into. But if it is a case where voter fraud was intended, then those people there are penalties. So the state doesn't take it lightly. Jerry?
Well, several years ago, I had a phone call from a league member in South Dakota. They were going to do an initiative to launch a mail ballot system in their state. And of course, one of the arguments against it was that, well, it's fraud. Well, that's been going on for 100 years. So I called the Secretary of State's office, and this was probably about 2018, and asked them how many cases of voter fraud we'd had over the years. Well, the gentleman said, "Let me call you right back." And he did. And he said, over the last 10 years, we have had 7 cases of fraud that have been filed. So it's not rampant. And I know that I've heard secretaries of states and county clerks say over and over again that we do not have fraud. And of course, it still comes up, but we've got so many safeguards that it's almost impossible. And as Karen said, those who might do a double ballot somewhere along the line. They may think that they might have property in 2 locations in the state. They can vote in both. And so they just do that, not knowing that that is not legal to do so. And that gets cleared up pretty quickly. So fraud is non-existent. Might be 1 or 2 here and there. And in the case of that, when it is detected, the clerks refer it to their district attorney for prosecution, or to decide whether they're going to prosecute.
Under identified areas for improvement, you may wonder why I deleted freedom from fear from verbal, etc. If you'll go down to the second to the last bullet point, you'll notice that enact stronger measures against intimidation of voters and election workers.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so that's the reason why that was deleted.
I would like to approve this at this meeting, if possible. And then I think the next step is we have to take it to the board for their final approval. Is that correct?
Probably.
Is the board aware that we're doing this?
Jerry, I don't know that the board is aware. Barb, do you?
No, I don't know. And I think with all the task forces we have going on, it would be my recommendation as a board member that we have some regular reports by the task force.
Yes.
So we know what's going on in them. But
Yes.
so far, no, the chairs haven't been asked to, give any updates or reports. So unless we mention it, but it has not been mentioned.
Yeah. Well, maybe you guys on the board could lay the groundwork and then submit it at a subsequent meeting.
Okay. Well, is there any other input from any of the rest of you? I know some of you are new to the task force, and so this may be the very first time you're even seeing this, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh. But if you've got some additional things that you think need to be, or if you'd like to think about it a little bit, I know I apologize for getting this out on such short notice. I always have great plans to do it the week before, and then it just never seems to work out. If you will look in the upper right-hand corner underneath share, it says suggesting. And I can't do that, but Linda can. If you'll click on suggesting, you'll click on
Okay, where do I go?
Share is in the upper right-hand
Up at the
corner.
right-hand corner.
And then just right below that,
Oh,
in
right here.
blue, it says suggesting. If you'll click on that little downward area. All right, you'll notice that it says editing, which means that you actually make the change right then. Nobody can see that you've made a change, it's done. And then you do suggesting. And what that, be sure if you make suggestions that if you make any changes, that you click on suggesting. And that then that way, anything that you think you would like to do, I'm with Jerry. I would love for us to be able to approve this. The fact that several of our pretty regular attendees are not here today is a bit concerning to me, just because some of the comments that were, that were made about the document are from people that aren't here, and I
Well,
would
Yeah.
I
like
got it.
to give one less chance to have a chance to whatever, Barb.
Well, I guess we can, my proposal would be that this is the last draft. And
then-
that it be sent out to everybody that signed up on this committee to
Mhm.
give it a thumbs up or thumbs down with a deadline to
Clean it up.
report back.
You mean clean it up with all the strikes and all
Yeah,
that?
take it, clean it up. I say clean up this draft and put final draft and send it out to the board members for final approval. And then if anybody has any lasting suggestions, then they better make it then.
One of my reasons for wanting it done now is because we're all about to be inundated with election season.
I agree,
then-
Jerry.
The next time we will have a chance to discuss this might be December.
Right.
Yeah, but I think, I think it's close to being done.
Yep.
I don't, unless there's any final disagreements about things, but I think give them a week, final draft, clean it up and send it out for approval unless someone has a major objection, and then they talk to you about it.
Yeah. And this
Jerry,
doesn't mean that it's final. We can always change something in the future.
Right,
final draft implies that it's still in draft form. You have one more
right.
chance to be able to. Jerry, do you think that we ought to put a link to the white paper in this
Oh.
document?
That's a good idea.
Okay, I will get with Jane and get that direct link so that you don't have to go through a bunch of different steps to be able to get there.
Just do a resources thing at the bottom or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
all right, I will add then the white paper link.
Stop share. Are we done?
I think so. I'm just adding my computer is worse. All right, I'm just making myself a note. Add white paper link.
Did you read Emily's comment?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, she says it's great, but she said, I was curious. She doesn't have a microphone and there's work being done in her house, but
Oh, okay.
she says, I was curious what you mean by gun restrictions for election workers.
Jerry, you might want to address that because we had recent legislation. So you want to talk about, well, I say recent, it was what, 2 years ago,
I
maybe?
have to read it again.
Is that just means, I don't know if it's gun restrictions. They know they're not supposed to carry guns while they're working as election workers.
Well, you cannot have a gun within, what is it, 100
So many feet of
100
the-
yards
Or
of a
something like
polling
that.
place. There are no
There was
guns allowed.
legislation passed in the last 2 years,
Right.
so that's probably a veiled reference to that.
Mhm, mhm.
Where is it?
It's near the bottom, Barb.
Okay.
Third bullet from the bottom, second bullet.
Bolster training, guidance, equipment, security, scenario planning, staffing and supplies.
It's
Oh, I see. Stronger measures against intimidation, election workers, gun restrictions. I think they're pretty strict right now, aren't they not?
I think
We
so.
already do have gun restrictions, so maybe we don't even need to include gun restrictions. I think, Emily, that part of the issue has been, and maybe you are aware or not, depending upon the temperature in your own community, we have had an exodus of a number of statewide of election officials just because people get in their faces and people have, have harassed them, on social media or have made their lives miserable at work. And so we have people that have simply said, I don't need this in my life. I'm not doing this anymore. So I think the reference here was what other things can we do to tone down the intimidation of voters and election workers. I don't know whether we really need gun restrictions because I think we have those. There was legislation that was passed that says you can't have a gun within.
Well, is there a place where we say that, up there at the top is some of the bullets that we continue to support strong safety measures and gun restrictions related to elections?
Well, I think that's down there in the bottom bar.
But that's what we're recommending that we want more of
Yes,
when
exactly.
we already have it.
Yes, we have some, but we are recommending that there be stronger measures against intimidation of voters and election workers. Whether gun restrictions are one of those things or whether it's, stronger measures and privacy protections, some
Okay,
election
all
officials,
right.
people know where they live. And that's
Right,
concerning.
okay.
So,
Okay, thanks, Emily.
Yeah, she says it makes sense to her now. It says, I believe it's 100 yards of polling places, and I think that's correct.
Maybe it's 100 something.
Yeah,
100
yeah.
miles.
okay,
It'd be 500 feet, I don't know, or at polling places, drop boxes.
I think it's 100.
It is 100.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, then if can I have a consensus then? Can we have Jerry, would you like to
You want me to make a motion?
make a motion and somebody second it and then we'll pass it and then I will move forward with sharing it with the other past
Sure.
attendees.
I'm formulating it in my head quickly. I move that the election task force recommend the consideration and adoption of the final draft regarding principles of elections, or whatever we call this.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. I don't know if I'm on your task force, but I'll second it.
I think anybody can do that.
Okay,
You're on it today, Linda.
okay.
I was gonna let somebody else do it.
Okay. Is there any additional conversation? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, raise your hand. Is there anybody opposed to doing this? Okay, so it passes.
Thank
All
you.
right, I will send it out and they have one more chance and at that point, then we will share it. We'll make arrangements to share it at a board meeting. Okay. All right, Jerry
Okay.
is going to give us a quick and dirty update on the measures that she thinks are going to be on the ballot this year.
Okay, Barb probably knows them as well as I do. I'm looking for them in my there we go. Okay. Ballot initiatives. The league is always heavily into a ballot initiatives. And it looks like we have the potential, and I would like to underline the word potential, of 17 measures on the ballot, statewide ballot this fall, plus local. I contacted the legislative council and actually found out that some of this is on the website as well, the legislative website. There were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 referred to the ballot by the state legislature over the last 2 sessions. Judicial discipline procedures and confidentiality is 1. Modify property tax exemption for veterans with disabilities. Constitutional bail exception for first-degree murder. Modify constitutional election deadlines. They're moving the deadlines back a week, which, thank God, I hope people vote for that. Repealing the definition of marriage in the state constitution. It was in the mid to late 80s, it was passed that marriage was only between a man and a woman. And since that time, the Supreme Court has overturned that definition. So the US Supreme Court, I should say. So they just want to take that out. Then it was to retain additional sports betting tax revenue. And lastly, firearms and ammunition excise tax. There'd be a 0.65 excise tax on the purchase of weapons, ammunition, gun parts, whatever. So those are the ones that are referred from the legislature. And then citizen initiatives. 3 have been approved unless something's happened this morning that I don't know about. I haven't been near the news. 1 is the voter approval of property tax revenue that is over 4%. The right to abortion in the state constitution. Prohibit trophy hunting of mountain lions, bobcats, and lynx. Those are the 3 that have qualified for the ballot. Now, there are 6 others that have turned in their signatures, and they are undergoing signature line review. They include, and these are short titles. We'll just wait and see if they make it. Valuation for assessments. Eligibility for parole. School choice and K-12 education. Qualification or registration for veterinary professional associates. Funding for law enforcement. And concerning the conduct of elections. That's the one from Kent Theory. So stay tuned. Lot to think about.
And the deadline, has the deadline reached now at this point? Every petition has to have been turned in.
Yes, it was by the 5th of August.
Okay, so it's just a question now of the Secretary of State's office going through and making sure that all of the signatures are illegal and that they in fact do have enough to be able to make.
They usually have 30 days from the time of submitting the signatures, so that puts it at September 4th. And the secretary has to certify the ballot on September 9th. Statewide ballot. So any questions, folks?
I do. I have a question, and it's not about anything you just said, but I have a question. I should know the answer to this, I guess, but you were talking about the petitions, how those issues get on the ballot, but like our city council just voted to add a sales tax to our ballot. And I think our school board is meeting, what they say, like August 20th, Mary, and they're going to potentially add a bond issue. When do those have to be, what's the deadline for those?
Well,
to-
they have to, those local issues have to be submitted to the Secretary of State, probably also by September 4th,
Okay, I
because
was wondering.
she certifies, when he or she certifies the state ballot, she is also certifying all local issues that will be on the ballot.
Okay,
And that's the November 5th. Some of them will wiggle around and have a special election, and that will be different, but
Do they have to go to the clerk and recorder first?
Yes,
the
they have to go
coordinated
to clerk and
election
recorder.
ballot. I don't know,
Right.
I'm sure it's near the end of August sometime.
Okay.
Yeah, and the city
I'll
set
have
their
to look, there's a
meeting.
Secretary of State calendar that lays out all those deadlines.
It's usually about 12 pages.
Yeah, that's, so you better look under August, and in the end of August and the 1st of September.
Mhm.
I don't have them, I mean, I could look it up, but
Yeah,
it's of the essence, we need to hear from Linda. If I
Oh.
find out Linda, I'll let you know. I'll email you.
Yeah, it was just a general question. I just didn't know the answer to that, and I wondered, because they have to approve now they've decided to do it, they have to approve the ballot language and everything, so they need to get on the stick, I would think.
Right, no, I know our city council starts approving their final ballot measures this month, and that's the second Tuesday in August, so, yeah,
Yeah.
they're on a tight timeline.
Well,
That's
it's
where the
interesting
city
to me.
attorney earns his dollars.
It seems interesting to me that they would be so late on this, Linda, because if you want somebody to vote for, I mean, I realize that the council can't get out and promote it. But you certainly want somebody out there promoting it, and that doesn't give them a whole heck of a lot of time to be able to, unless they just figure people are so fatigued that they're not paying any attention anyway, who knows? Our county commissioners have been talking for years and finally decided several months ago to put a 1% county sales tax on the ballot. And I will tell you, we've done 4 presentations, partnered with them to do 4 presentations. And the turnout has just been, with the exception of the first one that was done early in the year, nobody seems interested. So I don't know, or they're just,
Yeah, well, it's Loveland and the city council, and
Yes,
it's Loveland.
it's Loveland, I get it.
enough said.
The Arapahoe County Commissioners are also planning to put something, they haven't settled, but they've been out talking about it for the last year
Yeah.
and the need for it, so.
Yeah.
Well, it's money's always a hard sell. Taxes are always a hard sell. So
Yeah.
All
Mhm.
right. Well, do any of you have any questions of Jerry about any of the things that will be on the ballot? Yes. Yes, Mary.
Well, this is kind of a different question, and I don't know if it's relevant. Well, I think it's relevant, but do we do any poll watching? I know that the political parties do send people out to do poll watching, but will we be sending anybody into different voting locations just to kind of keep an eye on things?
You can encourage members of your local league to sign up to do that if they would like.
I'm just not sure, it's not like signing up to be an election judge. It's a separate process. And I think that, I could do it through a political party, but I was wondering whether the league has any sign up process for that.
Jerry, do you know about that?
I have never done it. Barb, have you thought
Yeah,
about it?
well, I do know that there are programs that local leagues can adopt to do poll watching. I've listened to several presentations on the National League that is encouraging leagues to develop a poll watcher program. They also have a group that you can, a lot of kids put their names into this group, and then you can email them and say, do you have somebody in our area who's interested in poll watching? But it is something that the local league has to organize themselves. And there is a way you go about doing it. It's like getting out the vote. It's just you develop a poll watching program. And some leagues have done that. I don't know of anybody in our state that has. I mean, we usually have our hands full with ballot measures, candidate forms, and voter registration, and these other things. So I don't know. If I find out how you can get a hold of some information to set up a program, I'll let you know. I know there's ones out there. I know there's local leagues that do it and are really enthusiastic about recruiting people to go out and do it. I think it's important, especially this year, but I don't know of anybody that's doing it in our state.
if you find some information, if you'll send it to me, Barb, I'll pass it
Okay.
on to everybody on this.
Sure. I have heard about it. They're, they have meetings for all the voter service people nationally, and they usually talk about all the different kinds of activities that local leagues are doing, and they share that information. I haven't been on one recently, but they're starting up to have them once a week. I
That's
was
good.
going to say in the league update, if you scroll down after you read the newsletter and everything, you will see all the different activities and things that you can sign up for that the National League is doing that's related to this. And I gotta see, Kath sent out a calendar, so I'll see if I send that to you too.
Since we've adopted mail-in ballots, mail-in
Right.
balloting, the turnout at the polls, the highest I've seen it is 10%. That's a walk-in polls, walk-in voting. Everybody else uses the mail-in system or drop box.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably why we've strayed away from it, because unless you want to check, have someone watching the polling centers, there's
It's
not
sort of
a
the
large.
most efficient use of your time.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, and a lot of I know the parties have people that they're signing up to watch
Mhm.
the voting centers and the drop boxes.
Well, I've been an election judge for Larimer County, and I've done both voting centers and I've done counting centers. And
Mhm.
we've had people in both places watching. So when I was sitting at a computer and voters were coming up to me to either try to verify or get a different ballot or something, sitting behind me in a row of chairs was sometimes a poll watcher sitting there. And then when I've done counting, where we have kind of an assembly line for opening envelopes and doing everything that needs to be done, we've had poll watchers or election watchers coming around and just observing what we're doing. And so I might look into it further. I have an invitation to be a judge again, and I'm kind of weighing the value of actually being an election judge versus just signing up to do some watching, along with getting out the vote and registering voters and that sort of thing.
You might check with your county and see what the percentage of turnout at a walk-in location is.
Well, when I've done it, it's been a big push at the end. So like I signed up to start early when the, polling places first opened. And we had very, very low activity until we got close to election day. And then the last few days we had lines out the door.
Yeah.
And it was at a church in Fort Collins on the east side of town, southeast Fort Collins. And we had lines out the door, even after 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the last day. Or the last weekend
I
even.
can too.
Mhm.
And yeah, the day of the election.
Okay, well, if there are any other questions about ballot measures, I invited Linda this afternoon. Linda is with the Larimer County League, and if you haven't been to Larimer's website to look at all of the wonderful information that they have on media literacy, mis and disinformation, her group spearheaded the News Access and Literacy Task Force and was responsible for the adoption of the position. They've been very engaged in this for a while. And from so many places, so many sources that I've read indicate that mis and disinformation is a major concern in this election and probably will be moving forward, but particularly this year. So I wanted her to come and talk a little bit about this particular topic and resources that we can use and that we can share with others to hopefully get people engaged in choosing sources that give you factual information as opposed to just what you would like to hear from a political perspective. So Linda, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, well, as Karen said, mis and disinformation is it's bad all the time, but it's particularly bad now, and I'm worried it's getting worse. So what I think since the beginning of the year, we've kind of focused on gradually getting information out from the task force, and we've been, all the weekly emails that Katina sends out every Friday, we've included some little nugget of information about how to how to recognize misinformation and disinformation. The whole purpose of our website, and there's a link from the Colorado website that will take you straight to the Larimer County News Access. It's the news literacy page. But the whole point is to just give everybody the resources that they need. We are not telling them which news sources to read. We are giving them the tools to make that decision themselves, to educate themselves on how to become better informed voters. We have all those tools on the website. I send out little pieces of, what do we call them? News literacy tips, something like that, in the newsletters that go out from the State League, because I think they do reach a pretty fair audience. And I put them in my local league newsletter too, but I don't think we get the audience that we do from the state mailings. And then, well, we had that great presentation by Justin McBrayer that was just an excellent, I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to top the audience that we got with that. And in September, we're going to have a webinar with a professor from DU who's going to talk about mis and disinformation in the elections, in general, the impact that has on elections. And I do have I'm going to share my screen again. Boring, I know, but I want to just show you if I can find it. This is the graphic Katina created it's Dr. Phil Chen, and he's assistant professor of political science at the University of Denver. It'll be on September 17th, and it's just at a regular task force meeting time. And that should be going out today, or tomorrow's Friday, right? Whatever she sends out, and then weekly till then. And then this is our task force page, or not task force, news literacy page. Can you all see this?
I put the link to that in the chat.
Okay, and this I love this thing. We created this as a postcard for the Boulder Valley League, and on the reverse side they had all their information for their league, and they used this at their voter service events last year. And the problem is that we have lost the back side of this. I can't find it anywhere, but I still have the front side, and I'm going to give it to Karen to send to the local leagues, and they can just print it up on a regular piece of paper and put it out with their voter information if they want to. It will, I just think sometimes we have all these webinars and stuff, but we're not reaching the people we really want to. And I think when we have voter service events, and the library has our brochure, our voter, the ballot issue pamphlets. We could also put these out if the local leagues want to do that. But that's pretty much what we're doing right now. If you guys have any ideas of how we can promote these things better, but we have a lot of tools. It's just a matter of getting them out to the public so that they know they exist.
And encouraging.
So if you have any suggestions.
Linda and I were talking earlier that too many times what happens is that the people that really, really most need to be aware are the ones that never come to our events. So you're kind of talking lots of times.
Right. And that's why I think it would be good to have that, the information that I just showed you on the website, that little card. If local leagues could print that out in whatever way they want, you know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, just to have a handout there that you can hand that to people. And that's a simple card. It doesn't, and it's not, okay? Yes, Jerry?
Oh, no,
Oh,
we
okay,
got family drop in. I have to sign off, guys.
okay.
Thank you.
Bye. But it's a, bye, Jerry. It's a simple card. It doesn't have, it's not partisan. It doesn't advocate for anything. It just tells you the steps you need to take, and it's simple. It's not, I have seen other handouts that have, you know, what's a mem and what's just all these different disinformation terms. If you confuse people, they're not gonna, you know, that just turns them off too. So I'm convinced it needs to stay pretty simple. And I think that handout is. So that's what I've got for you. And if you have any suggestions for the task force, please let us know. And
Thank you,
anybody is
Linda.
welcome to the task force meetings. Anybody, if you want to come, it's always at 4:30 on the third month,
On the third Thursday of the month,
third Tuesday.
Tuesday of the month, okay.
Yeah.
So two things you can do on the third week of the month. You can go to the news access, or you can come here. Well, I
Yeah.
will be sharing, you know, as you were talking, one other suggestion would be to print these postcards off and see if your high school civics teachers would be willing to share those with kids. Or
Right.
English teachers or whoever, you know, that the kids come in contact with, because the time to get folks to start looking at this stuff is when they're young enough that they haven't already got, you know, set ideas, and that they're not already entrenched with some set ideas. So,
Right, and I think the Larimer County Voter Service, I'm pretty sure you know, they go into the schools to register students, and they take these cards with them, so I think that would be great. So I'm gonna give it, and they can print it up as fancy as they want with a postcard or just a piece of paper and just hand it to them and say, here you go. It's as easy as this.
great, that's great. I will watch for that email.
Okay.
All right. If there aren't any other questions for, if there aren't any other questions for Linda, I know that Barb had one brief little thing she wanted to share, and if any of the rest of you have anything that you would like to share, this will be the time. So Barb, I'll let you.
Okay, well, and this kind of along the lines, I don't know. There's a lot of rumors going around about the election and how some people might want to try to disrupt it, especially with interfering with confirming the election certification piece of the process. And to be honest, I have to say, as much as I've been involved, I've always been involved with making sure, you know, the ballots are safe, secure, counted correctly, and so forth. And actually, after working with our security position that Karen has talked about, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that we have one of the best secure election systems in the United States. But what happens after they're counted? This whole idea of, you know, interfering with the certification of the election, and apparently, and I don't know, I really need some more education on this about the canvassing board and the responsibilities they have with making sure that the number of people that voted match the number of votes that you have. And they're part of the last process after all the votes are counted to determine and make sure everything's accurate before the county clerk signs off on things and moves it forward to the Secretary of State. There's rumors that there's people who might want to infiltrate and do things to hold up that process. It says here our boards, our county boards. I was going to talk to a friend of mine who serves on one. have 3 to 5 people. They're usually people that are recommended by the parties. We have had some situations in Colorado where there's been people who serve. I'm gonna plug in my computer because I think it's dying. Who serve on election boards who have caused some problems the last couple years, not significantly. What I'm advocating for is more education about this, and either I'm going to talk to Beth about perhaps getting someone who is the head of the County Clerks Association or someone from the Secretary of State's office to talk about and assure people that we have checks and balances in place. That if anybody wants to try to do any disruption, first of all, there's an awful lot of laws that, if somebody does this, they break and they're in trouble. But there's also some ways that, the process can keep moving forward without tying up the results. So I guess I'm working on that. One of the things I did want to say is that although the county has robust procedures to investigate and resolve allegation of voter fraud, this is not the responsibility of the county canvass boards. Their sole responsibility is just to say, hey, we've run all the tests and processes we need to do. Everything adds up. We're signing off on it. And some of the cases that have been cited in this report that I have was published by CREW, which is Citizens for Responsible Ethics in Washington. They're publishing some states where there have been problems and encouraging them to let people know what the ramifications are, what the responsibilities are, and to reassure the public that, the ballots and the whole process can't be tampered with. So I guess I'm just bringing that forward because I think it's part of the election process. I would like to see more education, albeit a simple one, be shared with voters on behalf of our state league. So people are reassured that people can't easily overturn or disrupt the whole election process. So that's all I had, Karen.
Okay. Well, I think we are already, I think we're seeing things ramping up where, we're continuing to hear allegations that, the 2020 election was stolen. We are hearing more and more people talk about the potential that this election will be stolen or that there will be improprieties or that voter fraud is rampant. And obviously every state makes decisions about how their own elections are run. There are some federal guidelines, but there's a lot of individuality. Colorado's election system is we've got a pretty stellar election system with lots of checks and balances, which doesn't mean that there can't be improvements, but I think it's important for people to know that there are folks out there are watching. There are things in place to prevent fraud and improprieties, and to share that message. How much ability we'll have to be able to counter the other side, I don't know, because it's pretty definite.
And I think it's all, Linda, as you were saying, I think it's all part of the mis and disinformation piece of this, what people are saying that, threat, intimidation and threaten and also, my concern is how it impacts voters, those who say, I just don't want to get involved.
Right.
And also we really seriously, I don't know, we've had conversations about this, the whole idea that we have problems with election workers wanting to continue to be involved with the process. And they just don't want to be part of that. And that's I don't know. I think I got involved with voter service because I wanted everybody to vote. Who's eligible to vote and be an informed voter. And now we have all this other stuff going on that just, I don't blame people. I think I'm exhausted from it too. But I think we have to be hyper vigilant and push back on some of the things that we hear that are totally untrue.
I agree. That's why I'm on the News Ask.
Yep, I know you're doing a great job. So thank you. Thank you for you and your committee and all the great work you're doing.
Well, we're trying.
I know, it's not, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
Each of us as individuals can do a little bit. We can't do it all.
Right.
And just because we can't do it all doesn't mean we can't do something. And so we each serving as an election judge, being a poll observer, if that's what you are interested in, or just supporting those people who decide that they are interested in doing that kind of stuff, and providing encouragement. I think anything you can do that's positive is a plus. So,
Right.
Linda, is there anything else that anybody has to share or has questions about or thinks needs to be on next month's agenda? Well, Linda,
No.
thank you so much for coming today. It was short notice, I know, for you, and
Oh, I was happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I will send out some information that I think the local leagues could do. I forgot to mention the National League has this meeting every Monday, I think at 1:30 our time, called Rumor Briefings. And I tried to get in last time. They wouldn't, I couldn't get in, but I'm signed up for all of them. But they did send out to my local league president. She received this great handout, so I'll send it to you guys and you can pass it along. It's in our mid-month focus that came out today. So I'm going to forward that to everybody and maybe we can get that out because it has stuff about the rumor about how dead people vote. And I think it had something about certification too and redistricting. I mean, really, okay.
No, I was gonna mention that too, Linda, because I've been attending those meetings. And
Mhm.
they're 1:30 our time. And the people that are doing them and the partnership that the National League has with this group, they're very thorough, they're very direct. They have a criteria by which they're, you know, evaluating all these rumors that come up, and they go state by state. And, I was taking copious notes one day and they said, oh no, we're sending out a follow-up. The next day you get a follow-up and it's very thorough. And it's really kind of interesting to see how they're debunking some of the rumors. I've missed the ones this last month. So, and once again, I know that's on the league update. It's under rumors. I was looking for it in the last league
Right.
update. You have to scroll down, but you can sign up for all of them or some of them or whichever. But I would advocate, if you're interested in that sort of thing, to do it.
Yeah, and they really emphasize, I'm sorry, Karen, did you want to say something?
go ahead and then I'll go ahead.
Okay, well, they're just real quick, that their pattern seems to be they take the rumor, which was confusion or something, and then they find the deficient information where there's a deficit of information, because that's why misinformation and disinformation happen, is
Mhm.
because there's an information void, and then they explain it. And I think it's really important when there's mis and disinformation out there that you either share, don't repeat the disinformation, just share the correct information and put the information out there, the correct information. Don't be afraid to share the truth. Just don't repeat the not truth.
And that sometimes is hard to do because we have a tendency to wanna,
Yeah. How do you pre-bunk something if you don't state what the bunk is? I'm not really sure I understand that strategy, but
well, if you will send me the postcard, send me the information on this meeting that you just talked about, and send me the information on your speaker, I will include that in my update to all local league leaders, and I will include it in an email to this particular task force as well.
okay, I will.
Okay, well, we've run a bit over, but I think we've had a good conversation. Thank you so much, those of you that are new attendees. Hopefully you will come back again next month, and that we'll have some additional folks that are able to show up at that meeting as well. And if you have anything, let me really quickly, let me put my email in the chat, and then if you want to get in touch with me, you can, and you can also, I'm happy to take a phone call as well. You know, when you're in a hurry, it always takes you longer to type something than when you're not. So just be sure that's right. Okay, so that information is there. You can just copy it and paste it someplace where you can find it, and I'm happy to respond anytime. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll see.
And thanks new people for joining us. I hope you come back, or if
Thank
this
you.
is the right task force, look for some, but we're all busy doing something.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.